Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Lajoie and thank you so much for clicking on this video, liking and subscribing, and really just being here to be a better version of yourself, okay? Because what are we all here to do? We are here to transform and live our best lives, okay? Today, I'm going to be talking about toxic relationships and specifically like what is the actual process of taking toxic relationships out of your life, okay? Because it's a process. It's not just about blocking people, if that's what you need to do, no judgment. It's not just about that. It's about you. It's about yourself. It's about really investing in yourself and really passing all the tests, because there's going to be tests along the way, to really see, are you worth it? Are you the priority in your life? Is self-love truly what you are focused on? That is what it's really about. So I know, starting off, a lot of people who have a toxic relationship, the first thing they think of, right, is like a toxic significant other relationship. But toxic relationships don't have to be that, and doesn't have to be about having a boyfriend or girlfriend in your life that's toxic. This can be a family member. This could be a friend. This can be a coworker, okay? And when we allow people who we know are not good for us and are not helping us better ourselves, we're telling ourselves that we're not worth it. We're telling the universe that, oh, it's okay. I don't need to grow anymore. I don't need to expand. I don't want to be happier. I'm okay where I'm at. But when we start to let go of those relationships, when we start to really imagine a better version of ourselves and a better version of the life that we are living now, that's when we start to see, oh, you know what? I do want to be happier. I do want to elevate myself. And I want to be surrounded by people who will elevate me and who are also elevating themselves too. So when it comes to toxic relationships, you really need to start envisioning your future self. That's the first thing you need to do, okay? You need to have that goal, that lifestyle that you want to live, the people you want to surround yourself with. You need to start envisioning that. That's the first thing you need to do. Because without that, it's going to be very hard to let go of the toxic relationships and the people who are not serving you. When it comes to toxic friendships, I want to start with friendship. We're going to get into relationships in a second. But first, when it comes to toxic friendships, you have to first, like I said, define where you want to be in the future, okay? So a good example is, if I know that drinking alcohol isn't good for me, and I know that my future self doesn't drink any alcohol, doesn't necessarily mean I have to get rid of the friends who drink alcohol. But if there are friends who judge me for not drinking alcohol, if there are friends who get upset with me because I'm not drinking at the party, or who are talking down to me about my decision to not drink, the reality is those people are going to start to be in those toxic relationship pool, because they're not helping you further yourself. Now, that being said, you will have friends who drink and then are okay that you're not drinking. But I think the reality is that that's not going to be everybody, especially when you're on this journey of furthering yourself, of elevating yourself, of really embodying everything that you could possibly be, right? Really embodying the potential that we all have. So you have to really like reflect and take a pause. And sometimes this means taking a pause from those relationships. Because what I've found is that maybe at first, as you start to further yourself, as you start to grow yourself, and invest in yourself, yeah, you're going to have to get rid of some relationships. But there's always going to be a point where y'all reconnect, okay? Because at some point, they're going to want to have something better for themselves. At some point, they're going to want to go on the path of self-discovery, of self-empowerment, of self-love, right? So there will be a point where y'all meet again. But if they're not ready to go on that journey with you, don't try to bring them with you. That's like one of the other big pro tips. When I started like really getting into manifestation, I would write my manifestations. I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to bring everybody with me. And it's really hard to do. And I would even say low key is kind of impossible to do, to bring everybody with you. Now, a few people can come with you if they're ready, but it's really hard to bring everybody with you. So when you start to think about like where you want to be in the future, envisioning your future self and letting go of those toxic relationships, you really have to prioritize you, and you have to focus on what it is that you really see yourself being and what it's going to take to get there. Okay. So that's with toxic friends. Now, a toxic significant other, this is where it gets tricky. Now, one of the first things I'll tell y'all is if you are in a dangerous situation with your partner, okay, male or female on both ends, okay, you need to figure out how to safely leave that relationship first. Because a lot of the times when a partner is toxic, confrontation is not safe. And I want y'all to really understand that, okay? It is not a safe situation. So you need to prioritize your safety first. And then once you're out of that situation or you're out of that relationship, then if you would like, you could possibly learn, I'm like trying to say this the right way, learn of ways to communicate effectively without blaming anybody and communicate with that partner. But honestly, what I found through my experience, especially in my 20s, okay, this is for those of y'all in your 20s, sometimes 30s too, is that if that person was toxic in the first place and I had to do all of this work to get out of that relationship, it's not worth the effort of going back and communicating with that person, okay? If they didn't get it when I was in that relationship, honey, they probably not gonna get it now. So, and maybe for some of y'all, maybe they will get it after you leave the relationship. But really, what I found is that if I do try to go back to a toxic relationship that God has told me is toxic and is not for me, God just shows me even more reasons why I shouldn't go back to that relationship. Like, it never gets better, right? It only gets worse. So, yes, it's like that's the reality of it. So what I'm saying is, you know, I think at that point you have to let go and let God. And you really just got to let go of that relationship, put it, you know, get that little chess piece, put it to the side, kind of actually just throw it on the other side of the fence and forget about it. And maybe one day they will come back into your life and apologize, and you'll have some kind of closure with that person if you really need it. But don't take it upon yourself to force that closure to happen, okay? You really need to just focus on you and your self-love. So, toxic relationships, how to get out of them, and what's the process of getting out of toxic relationships. So what I've found in my experience is that even if I let go of people who I guess I identified as toxic, or really not even like toxic, just people who aren't serving me. This sounds terrible, but people who don't help me pursue my like greatest version of myself. What I found is that right after, you'll start attracting new people into your life. And some of those people will be people who are in alignment with you. But you'll sort of still attract people who say they're on the journey with you, right? Who said, oh yeah, that happened to me too. I stopped drinking 2 months ago, you know. And then 2 days later, they're drinking a beer with some other people. You really need to pause and think about your life. No. You really need to understand that when you let go of toxic people, that's kind of like the first step. And then the universe is going to test you and more than 3 times. Okay. And you have to understand that. And you have to start seeing that like, oh, this person said they stopped drinking. They're drinking now. no, this is not for me because this is not where I want to be, right? So you have to remind yourself, of where you're trying to go. And even though you might like really love that person and really want to be friends with them and hang out with them, that's fine, right? But again, if they get in the way of you being the best version of yourself, it's time to part ways. And that's just the reality. That's the reality of it. That truly is the reality. Because look, okay. So that's the second part. That's part of the process. You're going to bring in people who you think are going to be in alignment with you, or who might test you to see if you are really committed to your future self. Okay. Of really committing and being your future self. Now, with toxic relationships, when it comes to family members, this one is a little bit trickier. It does take a lot of communication because sometimes we can't cut ties with our family. It's a family, right? So with family members, what I found is just to learn how to communicate more effectively and really removing myself from that environment. So one of the biggest things that I think really helped when I traveled abroad was that I was no longer, I not even traveled abroad. I think even after college, or really in college, as soon as I moved out of my family's house, right? I was able to, well, maybe post-college, more post-college. Okay, so anyway, sorry, that's like aside the point. Post-college, post-stepping out of the environment that I had lived in for 20 years, or I guess 18 years, I was able to empower myself and really spend time with myself to figure out who I was. What is the truth of me? Why am I here? I think it's really hard to answer those questions when you're surrounded by the same people or the same environment that you've been in for 20 years. That kind of reinforces the idea that you're, I guess, your old version of yourself, right? It doesn't help the situation. I think the biggest thing that helps you really empower yourself to really see who you truly are is changing your environment. And by that, y'all already know what I mean. I mean travel. You need to travel. Even if it's like a weekend thing, even if it's like just going to the nearest city and spending 1 or 2 days there, you've got to get out and travel because it really helps you change your mindset. And it does it in such an easier way than trying to do it in the same environment that has kept you like thinking low about yourself and that has kept your self-esteem low. Like go to a different city, okay? Now, for those of y'all who are ready, go to a different country. And what I love about going to other countries too, especially if you want to work on your self-esteem, y'all need to get out of the States. Because, like, I don't know what it is about, like, being here in the States, but maybe it's all the plastic surgery that's going on. That's going on. But it's a lot. It's a lot. But I remember when I first went to, like, the Caribbean, I think that was one of the first places where I really felt truly beautiful in my body. Like, without worrying about like the shape of my body or like how curvy it is or like, you know, my chest. Like, I mean, I have a pretty small chest, but the point is like they didn't care. They saw a beautiful woman as a beautiful woman, and that was it. And not that I'm calling myself a beautiful woman. Sorry, I know that sounds like a lot, but my point is that was one of the first times I truly felt beautiful. Even after like having gone to a restaurant and eating out and then having like a full belly, like, and then going to the beach, right? That was something I would never do in the States. Like literally I would go to the beach and probably starve that whole day because like I didn't want to have like a full belly. But when I went to the Caribbean, like they didn't care. And it was so empowering and it was so affirming that, you know, I am beautiful in any capacity, in any shape or form that I am. And look, I'm telling y'all now, it's a really great boost to the self-esteem. So y'all need to head there like as soon as possible, okay? But yeah, so it's really important to travel because again, it can really change. It changes your life. It can change your life. It's going to change your life. No matter what happens, whatever the situation is. It's really going to empower you to really be that future version of yourself. And I think that's the biggest remedy to a toxic relationship is to travel. And I might be a little bit biased, okay? Because that was really my cure to prioritizing me. But for me, that's the solution, okay? So let's go into the journal prompts, okay? So the journal prompts, number 1, what can I do now to change my environment? That's the first one. Figure that out. What can you do to change your environment? 2, are there people in my life who do not serve my highest self or do not support me becoming my highest self, okay? So you got to write that down. Throw out the toxic relationships thing. I just want you to focus on people who are not helping you become your future self, okay? Really reflect on that. Am I making, sorry, I'm like went to the third one. Number three. Am I making room for new relationships to form in my life? This one is the most important. If you are still hanging out with the same people, you are not making room for new relationships in your life. That's just it. You got to take that time to be with yourself, to get to know yourself so that you can bring in a whole community of people into your life. But you got to make those moves. Okay? That's it. And you're due now. What I want y'all to do right now is those journal prompts, okay? That's the due now for this week because it's been a week. I'm going to make another video about this too because it's been one of those weeks, y'all, and it's been a couple of weeks like this. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so that's going to be it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And remember, if you subscribe and comment below AirPods 3000, you will be eligible to get one of the 4 AirPods I will be giving away once I get to 3,000 subscribers. Okay? So I'll see y'all later. I love y'all so much. Peace.